XBValentine. This is one more, please. Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing
XB?
good, man. I'm feeling blessed. I can't complain too much. I'm feeling very well rested. That's all I could ask for.
That's a good thing. I'm glad that you're here. It's a collaboration that I've been looking forward to doing. It's been cooking for a good while when I reached out to you. And in the studio, I have xBValentine. Is Bianca Rodriguez.
Sí.
I got to learn about Bianca. I was preparing for another episode, which is a fellow teammate of yours, Crystal Poppin. I got to hear you sing, and then I got to oh, okay, and then you live here in Austin, and then so okay, you know what? I want to invite Bianca. Ya estamos acá. So contacted you, and then we linked up. I think it was about a month ago or so when we actually met in person, and then from there it was a lot. All right, let's get a date done.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being here. Also, you have an amazing your songs are pretty good. You have an amazing voice, and then if you guys get to check out her music, it's pretty dope. So, but behind the music and behind all the stuff that you do, that is awesome. I want to get to for the audience to get to know about you, your life story. And before we get to that part, I want to say to everyone out there, thank you for listening to our episodes, for taking the time to either listen it on Spotify or watch it on YouTube. All the input that we get, without you guys, this project wouldn't keep going. So we appreciate you guys. Y sí, algo más que se me olvide, creo que ya tengo todo en la lista. Ya.
Listo.
Let's go into the life of the artist. I always say, the life of Bianca. Where are you originally from? And how did your childhood sort of shape the person you are today?
I mean, I kind of grew up in a small town called Georgetown, which is, only 30 minutes from here, from Austin. And growing up there, it was a small town when I grew up there since 97, so it was very different, early on. It was only one high school, 3 middle schools and 3 elementaries. And there was predominantly more white kids than there was Hispanics there. And funny thing is, a fun fact, that my family was the first in Georgetown to ever open up a Mexican restaurant there. So it was, we kind of got stuck there because, we made we left the imprint there. So, and growing up there, it kind of taught me early on that, man, Hispanic kids kind of have to work a little harder. And just because I was on teams, I played sports, and, when you play sports with the kids that, their parents are funding the schools and stuff like that, you're not going to get as much playing time, and I kind of saw early on, how those kids were favored over us because there wasn't as many of us. We were outnumbered. And I think growing up, I started to kind of yearn for a representation because I just was looking around. I was there's not much or many people that look like me really doing anything. It's just these white kids around me that are ones doing everything, And I think growing up, I just started to kind of get that hunger in me. Man, I want to be that representation. And honestly, if it wasn't for growing up in a town like that, I don't think I would have grown up to have this hunger and determination that I do now. So honestly, it's that, and also just watching my parents, they were some of the hardest grinders I've ever seen in my life. And, and this goes for a lot of people who kind of grew up in a similar household, and just kind of seeing the way they worked and, the effort they put in to make sure, their kids had everything they had and that we had the same opportunities as the kids we went to school with. All of that is what really taught me, hey, if you want something, you just got to work for it. And it's out there. You just got to go and figure out how to get it.
Yeah.
And that's really what I learned just from being there. And I mean, honestly, it's just it's a different place to grow up whenever, there's not much color. So
Georgetown.
Yeah. If you know where Georgetown's at, you know what I'm talking about.
And so you guys what's the name of the restaurant from your family?
It's called El Charrito.
El Charrito.
Yeah.
Órale, para ir a checarlo un día.
Yeah, it's good.
And so you grew up in Georgetown. you know, you're basically a minority. There was a challenge. Like, did you guys ever experience, besides the double hard work you guys had to put in, you guys had to also experience any racism?
Honestly, like, I never experienced it, like, necessarily towards me. It was just more like comments I'd hear kids in school, you know, and it was just ignorance. You know, I couldn't even necessarily blame them just because they weren't exposed to the same lifestyle as us. I mean, trust me, I was infuriated hearing these things, but then, you know, you kind of, when you grow up around these type of kids, you know, that don't really know any better, it's just like they're just not educated. You know, they don't go home to the struggles of immigrant kids or first generation kids. Like they just don't know firsthand what it's like. So yeah, it's easy for them to make their comments, talk their shit or whatever. And I think I got to a point where, like, instead of being like angry about it, you know, it's just ignorance. They just don't know. Not that I'm excusing their behavior, obviously. You know, if nowadays I definitely correct it, but you know, just hearing things like, oh, like, yeah, no, for sure. And I think now it's just like, you know, I'm lucky that no one ever told me nothing directly, you know, but, you know, there's just been, you know, things I'd hear kids in class say. You know, I was a quiet kid, so I wasn't the type to be like, hey, don't be saying that, you know, but I'd peep, you know, I'd hear it, and it just sucked that, you know, we're outnumbered. So what could I say?
You know, even like say at that moment, anything can be a double-edged sword, because you can say something good, but you know, is it really gonna matter? You can say something bad, that's when it's gonna matter the most.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And say, like, with your parents, how was it for them growing up, or you know, like say raising you guys in Georgetown, you know, being the first Mexican restaurant there? How was the clientele for them that came in?
It's kind of ironic because I think they were so successful because of all the white people there. White people love Mexican food, man. Like they're famous for breakfast tacos. So I mean, you know, white people love their bacon and egg, chorizo and egg, and all that shit. So, and I think that they were smart to do that, but then it also, like, it's just a trip to me because it's like, wow, like, this town is full of, like, not many minorities, but they love the one restaurant ran by minorities, you know? But I think that just kind of shows you, like, anything is possible. You know, they did the one thing a lot of Hispanics would be scared to do. Like, why in the world would you open up a restaurant somewhere there's nothing but white people? They were the ones that were like, why not? And, you know, and I think that shows you, like, sometimes you got to take risk. And I've seen them do that day in, day out. Like, my whole family are risk takers, and they have had successful outcomes from the risks that they've taken, and that's all I've seen my whole life. So I'm constantly taking risks, and I'm grateful that I've seen people who were fearless. You know, my parents were so fearless in many different ways, and individually, like, they have their different lives that they, you know, went through, and both of them are some of the, like, man, like, I do not exaggerate, like, they are just so strong, and I'm just so grateful to have had, you know, this type of people to watch, you know, throughout my whole life, because now I know they can do it with them. Like, they had no amount of the same opportunities I did, and they did it. I have no excuse.
That's a good thing. Like, say you got to see them do it, like, you know, everything they did, you know, they put their mind into, they hicieron. So, like, were your parents here legally, or were they here illegal?
No, they definitely came here illegally. So my mom got brought here when she was about 9 years old. And then my dad didn't come over here until he was 20. So, you know, it's two different ages. So my mom, you know, she speaks English fluently. She went to school here. So she kind of is more hip to, you know, how the States work. Since my dad came over here, you know, he was already kind of, you know, he was in his 20s. So it was a little different. He had to adjust. So he still doesn't speak English fluently, but he definitely can speak it better than he used to. So it was kind of different. Like, growing up, I wasn't very familiar what that meant. You know, I mean, I wasn't around other kids that had parents that were immigrants. There was a handful of us, but we weren't there, you know, at the lunch table, like, talking about it. You know, it was just something we thought was normal. We're like, oh, you know, this is just what it is. But as we got older, and the older I got, the more I was starting to think, oh, I'm actually have to be scared of certain things that other kids aren't. Like, my parents get pulled over, and for whatever reason, this cop wants to be, you know, an a-hole for whatever reason. It turns into a whole different thing. And next thing you know, I'm afraid, oh, wait, you know, what's going to happen to my parent? And those were things you don't think about as a kid. But as you get older, you start to understand, like, oh, my parents are technically not allowed to be here. And it's a scary thought when you wrap your head around it. You're like, they could literally get taken from us at any point. And especially when you're a kid, you're not working. You're like, what am I supposed to do? And like, do we all go back? You know, and it gets tricky, especially if only one parent is working. Then, you know, and when it got kind of scary is when my mom was, I want to say when I was around 14, my mom had already started her process to get her visa. And it took about 3 years. So it wasn't until I was like 14, it finally like went through. And I remember thinking like, well, so they made us, so she had to wait for like a perdón or something like that. And it took a while, and it was just, I remember the first time we went to Mexico together, it was a trip. My mom hadn't been out there since she was 9 years old, you know, and she was, I want to say my mom was like 40. So that was almost like, yeah, it's quite a bit of
Good
years.
while.
Yeah. So I'm meeting cousins I've never met before. So it was an experience. But when it got really scary is with my dad. So my dad actually didn't get his visa until like literally maybe 2 years ago. So it just is fresh. And I remember with his, it was not as smooth as my mom's process. Like they were starting to make, each sibling had to write a letter. We all had to explain why we need our dad here. Yeah. And it was just a lot. Like we had to prove, hey, our father, like we need him here. And that was a weird thing to try to convince someone to let our dad stay somewhere where he's been for the majority of his life. And it's like, what? And I literally, like, my little brother was just going to college. Like, he's the first in our family to go to college. So we all emphasize, like, on those letters, like, hey, like,
we need him here.
Like, our little, like, my brother is young still, so he needs his father here. And it was just a weird thought. Like, how many kids have to sit here and write a letter to someone to let their parent stay here with them? And it was a weird thing to wrap your head around. And, you know, it was scary. And I remember thinking, like, I never in my life did I ever think, oh, I'm going to have to think, like, what's it going to be without my dad? And I was forced in that moment to think about it, all because technically wasn't here legally.
So where, you know, in Texas, you know, there's a law that, you know, it was passed this year, but then it got in hold. But now it's actually going into effect after a Supreme Court decision, which is SB4. Basically, the state now has the right to pretty much take anyone to the border and, you know, afuera. Now there's going to be a lot of backtrack because some counties, sheriffs are like, we don't even have the resources to do that shit. So I don't know how messy it's going to get. I hope that there's something that gets done soon and gets them fixed, gets them quick, because like you, for example, and this is a little more like what a lot of people that are listening to this probably will, you know, feel like they assimilate to this. How you, okay, you know what, fine. Someone came here illegally, right? Your parents, your dad. But now after 21 years old, they have kids that can't petition for them, or a spouse that can petition for them. But because of coming here illegally, they have to do the waiver. That's fine. But it, you know, they make it hard because some people have to go back to Mexico unless you did this, you know, this one thing called 245I, where just like where I'm, you know, what I'm going through right now, basically. And why not the government? Okay, yes, there's a problem at the border. That's fine, but also there's a problem with shortage of labor here in the country. You can easily fix that with people being legal. Now you gotta, at a certain point of time, you gotta have like a cutoff date when, okay, you know what, ya estamos muchos acá, o ya nos estamos pasando de verga. But why not? Okay, if you already have someone that can petition for you, and obviously, you know, they can, you know, have this support, financial support to, hey, you know what, we would, you know, we'll be in charge of them, so they won't ask for benefits for, you know, for the future. Give them that opportunity to adjust their status. Like, don't, you know, it just goes to like, okay, like how much do people have to do besides paying taxes, living here? You already know they're contributing because the tax returns say so. So I just wish that, okay, as they're trying to bring border security, that's fine. You don't have to do an immigration reform, but you can at least take out these bars that are not allowing people to adjust their status, because then you're delaying more of a, like the one that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're also having a lot more ambiguity on like what can happen in this country. It's interesting how we're talking about this episode, especially like in my personal timing right now, because I'm going through this situation and it's a lot. It's mind like it's a mind fuck, I would say.
Yeah.
I say usually I had planned to go to South by, and and I couldn't go because I had to take care of my request for evidence, and that took a huge toll on me. And I'm like, okay, recovering because we sent everything last week, but it's just how like from you as a daughter of an immigrant, how important was it for your dad to go through this process? Now he's good. Now that he's in a place where you don't have to worry about him getting deported. How do you feel in this situation now?
I definitely, there's a sense of relief, but it's still kind of like I'm relieved from, my parents, of course, but it's just like, there's still, how would I say it? Like more family that I wish was also going through this process more smoothly, I guess is what I could say. Cause it's like, it's cool with my parents and I'm so grateful, but I still have family that's, that's not necessarily good yet, and that's the part that's still nerve-wracking in its way, because it's like I still care deeply for my family members that weren't fortunate enough for the process to be as easy, and people don't realize how hard, like everyone's like, just do it the right way. It's like, all right, the right way costs money, takes time, and sometimes all that still isn't enough. And sometimes you need a good lawyer, because you can be spending money with a lawyer that's not working as hard as they could. Like I've heard stories of people getting finessed by lawyers. Like they're just delaying, giving them false hope, and it's scary. Like you never know what you're getting into, and it's just frustrating hearing people, oh, well, there's ways to do it. It's like, yeah, but if it were that easy, you don't think everyone would be out here like doing it? And it's just not easy, and not everyone can afford it. And I think I'm very grateful, and I'm just like super blessed that my family, my parents are good and I don't have to worry about that. But I'm saddened for everyone else that has to go through it still. Like it's hard for me to be happy when I know like I have friends and family, and like there's people out there that are still dealing with this, because like, and even more when I'm seeing all these new laws being made, like cool, like my family's good, but there's still fellow immigrants out there that aren't. And that I feel for them, because I remember being scared and like not knowing what's gonna happen. And like it's like your parents living with a risk every day. Like you just don't know. Like, what I'm saying?
Especially now.
Yeah. And it's just even scarier now. Like you can get one wrong turn and you just happen to look like you're somebody from, and that's so messed up. Like all it takes is you just looking the part. And that's a trip to me, because it's like, man, like what happens if you look the part and you were literally born here, and then what, you know? So it's just, but I'm hopeful that, things change, but at the same time, like the change starts with us. So we just got to figure out what we can do to help that change actually become reality. I think it's one thing talking about it, but another thing actually like moving forward with an action that's going to help make that change.
A positive action, of course. We're not going to talk about like go riot like what other people did, a couple of years ago. No, I'm not talking about like, do the right thing, like I don't know what it is, I mean, just for individuals alone, just continuing to do your shit, continue to pay your taxes, because that's at the end of the day, and don't commit any crimes. Those two right there. Okay, once you don't do those, then ya valiste madre. Yeah. But enough of immigration. Thank you for sharing it, because I feel like the timing of it, and now what I'm going through, I'm like, okay, I know someone would like understand what's up. Yeah,
no, definitely, I got you.
And how what changing it to your music, when did you first have an interest in music, or when did you first find a melody or heard something like, okay, I want to be a musician?
It's kind of crazy, because I feel like every time I'm asked this question, like I have a hard time pinpointing exactly the moment, right? But there's just so many times as a kid that I just try to remember, and I'm like, the first thing that I like always go back to is when I want to say I was maybe like 12 years old, right? And I remember we had a karaoke machine. This was around the time 8 Mile had came out. I had never wrote a song before, never had done nothing in my life. But my cousin, he was like weirdly into writing raps at the time. So it was just a little phase. He never took it serious. But I just vividly remember him being like, hey, let's just freestyle each other with our little karaoke machine. My cousin was 3 years older than us. So it was like me and him and his little brother. And we just started freestyling. I remember I just like was going on top of my head. And that was the first time I had ever freestyled. I'm like 12 years old. And I remember I was like, yo, I'm kind of good at this. Like I had a natural rhythm. And I think it was just in that moment where I kind of just like felt something ignite in me. And I never could pinpoint like where I went after that, but that was just the tip of the moment where I was like, oh, like the light bulb went off, like, oh shit, like, I got it. And it was just, after a while, like, I think I would just play around. I would always freestyle, right? Yeah. It was just something I would do by myself. And it wasn't until I was maybe like 15 or 14. I don't even remember how old I was. And it was just me and my cousins. We were just chilling outside, and my cousin, he was like, yo, I'm gonna put on a beat, just freestyle. And I freestyled the whole beat. The beat was like 3 minutes long, and I just went off the whole beat. And I remember him, he just was like, yo, like, what the, he was like, yo, B, he's like, nah.
You can cuss if you want.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? He's like, nah, you gotta stop fucking around. He's like, you need to get in the studio. Yeah, and I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm not getting in the studio. But he was so adamant. He's like, nah, B, he's like, you got something for real. He's like, you just gotta get in the studio. And if it wasn't for him telling me that, like, I don't think I would have ever been like, oh, I can do this. Because no one had ever said or reacted that way towards anything I ever did. And it was just that moment where I was like, damn, like, yo, if you think I'm good, then why not? So it was after that, I started writing songs, and I just started hanging out with friends that, in high school at the time would record at home. So I was just like hanging out with people that like making music. And eventually I just started getting in the studio. And honestly, like, I have not gone to a studio since I was 16 years old. So I've been going to the studio for at least once a month since then. And yeah, I've just been going hard ever since.
How old were you around that time?
I was around 16 when I officially started. Like.
So you've been going to a studio for every month ever since?
Yeah, I'm 27 years old now.
9 years. And which studio like did you go to at first, and then is it the same studio that you go to now, or is it different? Because like,
so it's kind of funny you asked that. So I actually recorded with the same guy for 7 years, and his name was Christopher Locke. He goes by Lit Up AV. He has his own stuff now. He goes by the Bricks, which I'm super proud of him. We worked for a long time. It wasn't until I was like 22 I officially started learning how to record myself. And honestly, it's all because of everything he taught me. During our sessions, I would always ask him like, oh, what does this do? Or what are you doing now? Or what is that? And I had GarageBand, so I would go home and record rough drafts. And then I would go to the studio and actually record the full thing, because like my quality wasn't good, but I needed to hear some kind of demo before I paid money to go to the studio. Yeah. So that's kind of where me like recording myself started, was just recording rough drafts, but then, asking him questions and whatnot. And then I would go and apply it. So little by little, I was like, oh, maybe I should just buy the same mic you have. And he would tell me like, yeah, you should buy this. And then maybe you should get an interface that does this. So he was literally like just telling me what I should get. And then eventually I had everything I needed. And I was just at the point where I was like, man, this kind of sounds just as good now. And we just kind of like stopped really working together. And there's no like bad blood between us. Like that's my dude right there. And like, I have so much love for him, because I mean, he taught me everything I know as far as recording. He was the first person I ever went in a booth with, and he was like, all right, now you punch in. And I was like, what is that? And he taught me what ad-libs are. He taught me everything. I didn't know what any of that was. So I recorded with him. He used to work at Fifth Street Studios, and then he opened up his own spot, which is in like the Valley, or Del Valley. I don't know how to pronounce it, by the airport. Okay. Super far. And then now, I've been recording myself since I was 22. So it's been like a good couple years now.
And so you got to learn, you got to know you got to first hear the quality in someone else's studio, but now you have to learn, like, hear the same quality, but now with your own mix. How was that for you? Like, dude, like, I'm pretty sure once you finally got that mix that made you sound like as good, you were like, oh, fuck. I'm set now. Like, that, you're going to save money, and, you can actually do it whenever you want.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I remember, because it all started with, it was a song I had called Gone By Tomorrow. And this was like way before I like met my manager, right? So this was maybe in like 2019. And I had recorded this specific song just on GarageBand. I did all the mixing, but I had like a dope mic and like a good interface, so it was just like, it just sounded good, right? And I remember showing it to my girl, and I was like, I did show it to her, and then I was like, yo, does this sound good? Like, it sound mixed right? She's like, yeah, it sounds super good. I was like, I was gonna like go and get it like someone else to master it for me. And they're like, nah, this sounds good.
Yeah.
I was like, for real? And everyone was like, nah, it sounds good. Like, sounds like you went to the studio. I was like, fuck it. So I dropped it and no one noticed the difference. And everyone was like, yo, this song is dope. So I was like, well, the mixing must be good. So after that, I just like had that faith in myself. And I noticed like, I'm like all about YouTube University. Like I look up everything on YouTube. Like
we all are.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I learned like, I learned how to mix and master by myself. Like literally I would just be pressing knobs, or I'll like keep pushing things, or if I don't know something, I'll watch a YouTube video, like teach me how to use this plugin. Like I had to teach myself a lot of things, but honestly, like I'm very hands-on. I'm very picky, and like I have a certain vision, and sometimes I'm like, I just want to do it myself, because I'm just like that. Like I've already showed myself I could do it by myself. You know, I taught myself how to do a lot of things. And I think that was just one thing, like when I mastered it, I was like, yeah, saves you a lot of money. A lot of money.
When you're talking about you're picky, like say it, like that's overall, like as Bianca and XB, where you wear, you know, how everything, you know, like, because I've seen it like right now, like how you know your outfit is. You have like the curl is like, okay, it's meant to be there.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I'm a very OCD, like I don't have, okay, I'm not diagnosed with OCD, right? But I just use the word OCD because I'm very particular with how things are. Like if you go into my house, bro, everything is squeaky clean. See? Like you go into my room, like everything is where it's supposed to be. Like my closet is color coordinated. Like I'm just like an organized freak. But it's funny because like up here it's not very organized, but and the outside it is. And but I think a lot of it has to do with my mom. Okay. My mom was the type of lady, like, you know, wake up, you know, you got to clean, like, you know, she always makes sure everything was clean. And even us, like, we had to be clean cut. Like, if our greñas would be out, like, hey, ponte las greñas, you know? And like, that's why, like, it's funny because I feel like a lot of what I do now is just because of the constant, like, oh, don't do this or don't do that. But, you know, I mean, I love my mom to death, but it's just in the women, in the Hispanic women are constantly like, you know, they like to pick. And
y te dicen algo así, ¿no?
Yeah, no, eso sí cierto. But nah, I think it just, you know, now I just kind of like, I feel like I'm very, how do I say? I'm just very put together in the sense like I like to feel a certain way. And I think it helps whenever I'm just like, put the effort, you know, because sometimes like it's funny because I'll just have like a messy bun, right, and it'll look normal, like I don't put nothing in my hair, and I'll tell my girl I feel like my hair looks crazy. She's like, it looks normal, it just doesn't look as put together as it usually does. I was like, you're right.
That's funny, and that's interesting also. One thing I want to ask you is when you're, you know, working or composing a song, what is the behind the scenes for you when it comes to writing and also like come up with a beat?
Yeah, so usually, so I have you know, two different producers that usually send me beats, which is Bree and Sounds by Sammy. So, you know, I have beat packs from them. So I have like a crazy amount of beats. So I have like folders, and I just like, you know, depending how I'm feeling, you know, I'll just skim through the folders. And what I do is I'll have my voice memos like on my phone, just recording. So what I do is I'll just go through the beats and I'll just freestyle over a few of them until like finally I'm like, okay, this one has me like flowing to it. So I really just freestyle over all the beats first. But I have my voice memos going on. So I'll just like freestyle over all of them. Sometimes I'll be like, I didn't like that one. And when I finally get something, I go back and listen to the voice memo and I just keep the cadence. So I'll say a bunch of gibberish, a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, but I'll keep the flow of it itself. Cause I switch like my flow a lot in the beats. So I try to like hold on to the cadence and I just fill it in with words. So I'll just go back and be like, I mumbled this and I'll just like, what did I sound like I said? So I kind of just put words, and then what I like to do is I'll revise it and try to form a story behind all the lyrics. So it's kind of weird. I feel like the way I write is a little complex. It's probably easier ways to do it, but it's just the way it's always worked for me. You know,
I'm an accountant. I feel you.
Damn, yeah. Yeah, that's just kind of been my to-go-to. Freestyling has just always been something that came natural to me. Like I hate sitting down writing and then trying to look for how to fit my lyrics onto a beat. It's just hard for me to do that. It's just, I feel like I have a more creative flow whenever I just allow myself to express within that moment, you know?
Because that's how you when you first did it, it was not through a song that you wrote, but it's like what you said that just kept on going and going and going.
Yeah, that's just kind of how I first started doing it. So it's all I really know how to do.
Imagine if there was a thesis and you were like part of that thesis, that you were the thesis for someone to get a doctorate degree on sound mixing.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy. That's because I always say, you know, it's how the first step you take that's gonna determine your goal, like where you're gonna 100%. Go, no matter what.
Yeah.
So how you're saying it, like you have to build the cadence. You know, you have to, once you have the cadence, then you can add to it.
Yeah.
And you know, but of course that also goes with, you know, the content, the way you put the words and everything. Mm-hmm. You're gonna add it as you go, and then you're gonna change it up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just that flow.
Yeah.
You gotta, and I think, like I don't know, it's like there's like, say for example, there's people that I've met that they first time, like my nephew, first time he picked up a guitar, the strumming was good, and then after that he just went at it and did great. So I can see that, and I can see it in a lot of people, like say even in like saying in the non, like, you know, like in the industry that's not music, but like say building a house, there's people that are ahí la saben, no sabes que un 2x4 le ponen.
Así fácil.
Y así de fácil, y es como que no mames, güey, ¿qué es 2x4?
You're just there counting your
yeah, I'm like shit. Y dos, pero it's like 2x4, pero ¿cómo? So what do you think it's your vision and your mission and vision as an artist?
Honestly, this was a question I used to struggle with a lot, but I kind of realized that, like, I think my mission with this more than anything is I want to get to a point where I'm able to influence more females, in the sense, like, I have this sense of urge that I'm like catering to my young self. Like, I always think back to little me, right? Because I remember just feeling very discouraged at the fact that there was no one that looked like me doing the things I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I just like, I just remember always like yearning for that. I wanted someone who I could just like, wow, like I could be that. Like, they look just like me. They're not doing all this extra shit. Like, and I think now I'm like, well, maybe it was just because I was the one that was supposed to do that. Now I'm just focusing on, now I have this whole new generation of females that are probably looking for these things. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're out there. I don't think I'm just like the one and only person. Like, there's plenty of other women to look up to. But in the sense, I'm looking for the young little XBs out there that just need a woman that's not over-sexualizing herself, who doesn't care too much about, like, I'll put on my makeup, I'll do what I gotta do, but I wear baggy clothes, I wear a hat most of the time, my hair is up, and I'm me, and I'm happy, and I'm trying to show that you don't gotta do all this extra shit to be successful. Like, you can impact people just by being yourself, and it's important for me to stay true to that, because there's so many little girls out there that still have like their brains right now, it's a fragile moment for them. They're still growing, and what we're feeding them matters, you know, because they're only going to get older, and that's what all they're going to know. So right now it's like, I want to be just that one person that can actually show them, like, look, all this other shit on the internet is a facade. These girls out here are probably more insecure than I ever will be, and I don't look like that. But it's just to show, like, there's beauty comes in many different ways, but there's nothing more beautiful than embracing who you are. And that's really all I want out of this, is like, just to show these young females, like, yo, we can be fucking badass and be authentic to ourselves. We don't got to do the most. We don't got to wear this, that, and the third. We don't got to please nobody. Just be you. And that's just all I want.
Have you, like, say from someone that you're trying to capture, or have you had like anyone say like, oh man, like, you know what, XP, I listen to you and I'm inspired by your music, or just by who you are?
You know, and it's crazy because I think I had an experience that is why I was able to give the answer I gave today, because so the first time I ever experienced anything was at a show, and this happened maybe like a year and a half ago. And I remember this little girl, this was the first time I had ever had anything like this happen to me, you know. And usually it's because I perform at places where there's not usually kids, you know, it's usually 21 and up. So this was the first time I think I really had like a family friendly event. And I don't always pull the LGBT card when I perform. I read the crowd. It's like, this is going to be a friendly crowd, I'll pull that card, you know. But the crowd was a friendly crowd this time, so I was like, why not? So it's the last song I usually always close out with. I always, you know, say, this is the song I wrote about a girl, blah, blah, blah. And I had this little girl, probably like 12, 13 years old. And I swear to God, this little girl looked just like me as a kid. Hey. And it tripped me out, man. Like, comes up to me and she literally just tells me I really love, you know, the way you set up there. And I mean, I was like, I said a lot of things, so I didn't know what she was referring to, you know? Okay. I was like, yeah, like, cool, thank you. But then she was like, I'm struggling because she's like, I'm also a part of the LGBT. She's like, but I don't know how to tell my parents. She's like, I'm scared. And this is a kid, you know, and obviously it's a very sensitive topic, especially with the kid, you know. And this is the first time I'm having a young female tell me like that she's queer, you know, and she's struggling with that. And it was just like, I don't know what to say to this kid, but I'm gonna just tell this kid the same thing I would have wanted to hear at her age. And I told her, I was like, look, you need to focus on the fact that you need to focus on the people who are going to love you for you. Mm-hmm. I was like, at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone who loves you for you. And those are the ones you need to focus on. Whether that is your parents or not, you're going to have people who are going to love you for you. Mm-hmm. And that's all you should focus on. I was like, you are still young and there's going to be a time and a place for you to have that conversation with your parents. I was like, but don't be scared because regardless, there's going to be someone that loves you. Mm-hmm. And she cried. And I was like, no, it was just like, man, it was just she just cried, gave me a hug. And it was, and my girl was standing right there. And I had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my God, I just had the craziest encounter with this kid. But it was just like, that made me feel good knowing like she had someone in that moment. And that was me. And I was like, I could do that. I mean, obviously, I can't be that for every single kid in the world.
Imagínate,
but
after
they're all
show.
lined up, chinga. But it was just a cool feeling to know she was filled with doubt when she approached me and she left relieved, knowing like, oh, like someone who's lived through it just told me I'm going to be all right. Mm-hmm. And after that, you know, I started putting myself out there a lot more on TikTok, right? And on TikTok is when I started getting messages from older women. I had a 54-year-old woman message me one time, told me that I inspired her to come out. She is 54.
Dang.
And it was just because I posted a similar clip from a podcast I did where I did talk about that story. Mm-hmm. And I posted this maybe like a year ago. Mm-hmm. And when I posted this, when I started getting all those messages, but all of them were older women. So it just it showed me like, wow, I'm over here trying to heal these young kids, but little do I know, I'm also helping these grown women. Yeah. And that was when it was a turning point for me where I was like, holy shit, like the more I'm putting myself out there and just being vulnerable and just being straight up, like I'm human. I've gone through my shit, you know, I've experienced these things and it's important for me to put that out there so people can see like, yo, I turned out okay. And, you know, of course, it's not the same circumstances for everybody, but when you focus on the positives and the good in life, it's easy to that, like, you know, be what you have because that's what you're focusing on. But when you focus on the bad and the negative, then that's all you're going to have because that's what you were focusing on. Yeah. And I think it's just important for me to try to redirect where people's minds go because it's okay to be you. Just love yourself.
It's like, so a lot of the times when, you know, a platform has a sense of responsibility, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, you know, talking about soccer, whether it's, you know, music, art, whatever, you know, yes, you're expressing yourself, you're expressing who you are in your way of what you're doing, but someone else is also looking out there and you can inspire them to do something stupid like we've seen recently with a lot of people on social media, but you can also inspire someone to do something great. Or you can be inspired by someone that did something that like, oh, damn, I want to do something similar. Like say a previous guest that we had was Carlos Reyes. He talked about a picture that he saw and he wanted to simulate it. And now he's shooting for Peso Plumas, you know, company. Yeah. So it's what we do sometimes. It does take an effect on younger people. Like I think my goal as you know, as I'm getting older, I don't plan to have kids, but I do want at least someone that's younger than me that wants to do something similar to this, like, or wants to have access to a game, or, you know, wants to have access to a concert, to be able to do that, knowing that there's a way to do it. And I don't know, maybe like say you probably won't change someone's life in a complete, but they're at least gonna understand like, okay, you know what, I already had someone that went through a similar situation, and okay, there's something good out there for me. There's something that I can do in my life where, you know, I can find my meaning.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. Like a lot of times, that's sometimes what people just need in life in general.
Yeah, definitely.
And as part of a LGBTQ plus, and also a Latina, how has that been for you in industry that, you know, that it's learning more about it?
Honestly, like, I think for a while I used to be kind of like hesitant to like make it a thing or to be very verbal about it. I think I was like, it's okay for me to mention it, but I was like, I don't need to mention it all the time, you know? I was just kind of, I think, like, I was like, I feel like it's obvious I'm queer, like, you know, the way I dress and my appearance. Yeah. So I was like, I don't feel like I need to be announcing it. But it wasn't until I put out the song called Vibe With You, and I released this 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my manager, you know, I wasn't really familiar with TikTok, how to work it, but my manager was, you know, he just kind of knows the ropes with social media. And he was like, yo, he's like, just trust me, post this. It was like a video of me just in front of my mic, just, you know, performing the song and throwing the lyrics over it. He's like, trust me, just hashtag LGBTQ on it. I was like, all right. Because the song was about a female, right? Yeah. So I hashtagged it. I posted it at midnight right when the song came out. And I went to sleep. The next day, I go on TikTok, and it just blew up. And I was like seeing all these queer comments, all these gay girls just losing their shit over it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why didn't I do this sooner? You know, I was just
and then you realize you change the hashtag, you know, for everybody you've done.
Yeah.
In the past.
But it was definitely like dope to see. Like, and I had a moment where I was like, wow, like, it wasn't that I was ashamed. I just didn't want to like put it in people's face too much, you know, because I was like kind of insecure of, or like just, you know, how people can be like, okay, we get it, you know, but it got to a point where I was like, well, you know what, like, why the fuck not? Like, why shouldn't I represent a community I am part of? Because that's something we don't have a lot of. Like, we have artists out there, of course, that are LGBTQ, and, you know, there are Latino, you know, we got Snow, we got Young Miko, we got many, you know, colored women that are, you know, killing shit in the industry. But it's just like, what's wrong with having more of it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, why limit to how many we can have? Like, I think the more the better, and because then it makes that community bigger. Like, it's very small right now, and I think there'd be more power in how big it is. And again, we got all kinds of queer women out there that don't have representation, and, you know, and I think we have like different flavors right now, and I feel like we're missing one, and I feel like it's me.
It's the one link that we're missing. We found it.
Aquí está.
Thank you, Smooth Vega.
Yes.
That's good. And say, for example, also as a Latina in the rap industry, you know, like it's sort of, I would say, it really didn't, you know, like Latinos, I feel like it didn't really become part of the industry till maybe early 2000s, you know, mid 90s.
Yeah.
To now, yes, está más conectado. You know, there's more, you know, rappers out there. Even in Mexico, I mean, look at, I don't know, Mexican OT doing like a collaboration with Lefty, but Mexican OT's here and Lefty's in Mexico.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, that was a crazy one. Like, what the hell? But how is it for you as a Latina to be, you know, in the, you know, like say in the rap and hip hop industry?
Honestly, like, and it's funny because my dad, for a minute, like, he used to say, he's like, you know, he's like, your music is amazing. You know, he would always tell me, he can't understand my English music, but he just knows it's good. That's what he would say. But he would be like, but they're never going to accept you fully because you're Latina. And then in my mind, I'm like, well, there's plenty of Latinos that are like in the industry that are doing English music, right? But he was like, it's not that you won't make it, you just won't go as far. And it used to rub me the wrong way. I was like, no, like I can do it, like, you know. But, you know, now that I put out my first Spanish song, and I just saw the way people received it. Like, I posted it on TikTok, and it just took off, and I was just like not expecting that. You know, I was scared to put out the song because I was like, I was having a moment where like, what if I'm not Mexican enough for the Mexican or not? You know, like I was just having that moment, like, oh, but when I saw the way people received it, it was just like, wow, like, what the hell? Like, why was I scared? Like, at the end of the day, I'm Mexican. I come from a very Mexican household. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Spanish was my first language. Like, I was an ESL kid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think there was just a lot that I was afraid of, all because it was just new to me. But after I put it out, I saw like, this is an advantage, me being bilingual is a superpower. Like there's people out there that wish they could do both languages. Like when I put it out, I was having people hit me like, bro, you need to teach me how to speak Spanish. Like I want to be able to do this. And that was when I saw like, man, like I'm so grateful right now that I'm Latino. Like it was a beautiful feeling just knowing like I could really do both of these things if I really wanted to. And that's something not a lot of people can do. And it's just cool that like I started with English and went into Spanish because now I already did the hard part. And I feel like it's usually the other way around. It's going from Spanish to English. So now it's just like, well, now I know I can do both. It's just a matter of which one's going to hit.
Both of them. They're like Snow, like she mixes it up.
Yeah, and I think that's super dope, you know, and I think Snow is just like living proof that it can be done. And I think like everything she stands for, like, you know, she's very dominant and she's just like very sure of herself and so secure. And as women, we need that. We need a woman that's that powerful to show us we can be that strong. We can be that, you know, dominant in the industry. And it's just so dope to see. Like, it makes me feel good, like, going into the industry, like, all right, she did it. And she did it in a way where she was still true to herself. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, like, dope to me.
So a little context about Snow. And I think I don't know if I've never, maybe I could be wrong about the timelines or, you know, some stuff. But, like, let's say she was signed by a record and they wanted her to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, bro, like I'm Snow. Like I can't be that certain way. Like I have to be myself. You know, I think they ended up breaking, you know, apart. Yeah. So she started doing her own thing. And then that's when she started really, really, really doing a, you know, bilingual and hitting, you know, everything. But now she started reaching an audience in Mexico that was never really touched because there was always a disconnect between the rappers here in the US and the rappers in Mexico. She sort of brought those two industries together.
Thanks.
And then now you see Santa Fe Clan with Snow, Mexican OT with Lefty, and I think she did a trail for people like you guys. You know, hopefully in the future you get a collaboration con el Secan o no sé qué, uno de ellos el alemán. But like say like how you saying how she took that step? You know what? Hell no. She might not get that exposure she could have gotten with that other record label, but she started doing her own shit. She probably took a little bit longer, but she's hitting it. And now she's one of the most listen, you know, like her thing with Visa Rap is one of the most views.
That's crazy.
With him. And that's how impactful like her shit is. And then I think like there's an importance in there, like say when you're doing something that builds a precedent, like where you're trying to do, like how you're trying to be that one missing flavor. Like that right there is like authentic. That right there is true. It's not just like, well, my manager told me I have to be this way, because you've never even said like, Smooth wants you to be this way. He just told you, just put hashtag LGBTQ in that, and that's it.
Nah, that's what I love about Smooth. He's never like, he'll throw suggestions out there and I'll be like, nah. I mean, I ain't doing that. And he's cool. He's chill. He's like, all right. He's like, I just figured I'd throw it out there. But I'm pretty quick with it too, you know. But yeah, shout out to Smooth, man. He allows me to be myself.
Donde quiera que esté. Besote.
Dormido. Bien echado.
I want to meet him in person hopefully soon.
No, definitely.
I think I would love to have him here in the future too. Yeah. But from what I've seen and from what I've heard is like the stuff that he's done, like say also the managing of, you know, Crystal and you, like I had the opportunity to have her here. It's just like, you know, the way you guys present yourself in media, like in social media, but also like in outlets like this, how you guys talk, and it's like it's well connected because there's a great person behind it. Yeah. There's someone that really, really wants the good for his people.
No, definitely. Like I always like to say Smooth's kind of like the engine. Like he kind of keeps us all going. Mm-hmm. And really it was like, and it's crazy because, you know, I haven't known Smooth for a long time. Like we've been working together for about 3 years now. And, you know, in a short amount of time, like I can genuinely say like the dude's my best friend. And like, I feel like I'm his best friend. Like we really be like, besides like the business, like we've grown to have a genuine friendship. And I think that's allowed us to connect different on a personal and a business level because he knows me genuinely as a person. So he knows kind of how I think, like how I react to things. And now I kind of know him too, to that extent. So we kind of just flow really well, you know, and we're complete opposites of each other,
Yeah.
but it just works so well. Like, and I feel like Smooth's like, he's very like, he knows what he wants. He's very demanding. Like I feel like I'm too nice sometimes. Like I'm the type of person, like, I'll get walked all over in this industry. I just know it. Yeah, but I feel like confident with him, knowing like I'll be good. I'm in good hands because he's not the type that allows that, you know? And I feel like God put him in my life for a reason. Like I need someone who's cutthroat just as much as the industry is, because I'm not like that. You know, I'm very like, okay, you know, I think that's why me and him work well with each other too. You know, when he first met me, he's like, all I want in an artist is someone who's coachable. I'm like, bro, I'm like, that's me. Like, I'm very like, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it if I'm able to, you know. I like, you know, if I tell him no, it's probably for a good reason. Like, it's just not going to work out. But for the most part, if he's like, hey, I need you to pull up here, I pull up. If it's 3 hours away, 7 hours away, or whatever, if I got to pay for a flight, whatever it may be, like, I do it. And I think that's why it just works, because when we met each other, you know, I have been chasing my dreams since I was like 16 years old. And he could see that. He's like, I have all the trial and error already. Like I had 100 shitty shows under my belt. Like I've done it all. Like I've gotten hustled. Like everything that could happen to an amateur artist, it happened to me. And I think I met him at a point where I was like, okay, I've learned all the amateur bullshit. Now I really just want to go through the artist development. And it was perfect. Like I had a lot of songs that hadn't been released that were just chilling in my email or like in my drive. And he knew exactly what to do with all of them. I sent him all these songs and he's like, all right, we're putting this artist on this one, and this one. And we were just popping them out, at least 2 releases a month. And it just worked out. You know, he just kind of knew what to do, and he was cashing in on his, on all his favors. And I was just grateful. I was like, man, this dude doesn't need to do all this for me. But at the same time, like, I know why he did it, because he could see that, like, I'm not going to let it go to waste for you. Like, you know, you're going to go 100% for me, and I'm going to do my best to make sure, like, you don't feel like you wasted your time on me. Because, like, one thing with Smooth, he's like, he always says, I can never want it more than you want it. And that's something, like, you know, as an artist, you got to keep that in your mind, because it's like, all right, well, shit, you're right. Like, I got to want this shit more than anybody else around me, and that's the only way it's going to work. And honestly, like, he keeps me, like, focused. You know, there's moments where, like, he does call me out on my shit. He's like, hey, you're getting too comfortable. Like, why the fuck aren't you working? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you recording? And as an artist, like, it's you know, we do a lot of shit, and we're like, okay, we can sit back and, you know, appreciate everything we just did, but it's just like, we're not done. And he reminds me, like, dude, you're not done. Have you reached your goal yet? No. Or then why are you chilling? And you need someone in your life sometimes, because I think I get comfortable easily. And he always just kind of brings me back to, like, yo, don't you want this dream of yours? Like, come on. And that's something I'm grateful for. Like, man, like, Smooth, like, he and it's funny because, like, I always give him a hard time. I always tell him, like, you know, is, you know, he's just a funny dude. You know, he feeds his ego a lot. So and
you have to.
but I see what it does, and like, sometimes, like, I'm almost like, damn, I wish I could be like that, because I see what it does to his confidence. And but, you know, something about Smooth is, like, he really cares about what he wants in life, and when he cares and you know, he's like fixated on what, you know, what the goal is like, you can count on him to make it happen. And that's something that's really rare in people. Like, I've never met someone that's so determined and dedicated and that also cares to that deep level. Like, he can say all he wants is like, I don't care. I was like, you care. You got feelings. You're a Pisces. but nah, it's like, I know him. Oh, but nah, like, it's a good thing to have someone like him in your corner, you know. And I know a lot of people, like, wish they were managed by Smooth. So, you know, I think that's something I always think about is, like, yo, like, a lot of people would do anything to be in the position I am. So I don't take it for granted. And I try to put in, you know, my work at my end, you know, just to keep the wheels whirling, you know. And
you're releasing now 2 songs a month, give or take?
Yeah, well, so now, so our old cadence of releases, we're releasing 2 songs a month, but this time we're trying to just do 1 song a month. That way we have, like, enough time to roll out, because we just want to start rolling out music videos with them and just content. Like, Smooth's really big on content, so we just be shooting content for the in-between stuff. So just trying to have as much possible. Like, one thing about him is he wants to stay in people's faces. So he won't really let me go more than, like, 2 days without posting something on my feed. He'll be like, yo, you need something, post something.
Un taco, lo que sea.
Lo que sea.
Haciendo huevos con chorizo. And that's like, I mean, an artist, part of it, and it's like, say you were talking about earlier, you have to sort of feed your ego, but in a way that it's for confidence.
Yeah.
But that's good whenever you need to do that, because you're in an industry where your image is like everything around you besides the music. It's there, but also for a while I feel like music videos weren't really a thing, but they're starting to hit again.
Yeah, man. It's because the crazy thing is, like, people don't realize, like, yo, all right, let's just say you film a music video, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, let's just say it's a 3-minute long music video. This 3-minute long music video, you can grab like 30-40 seconds, and you just now you have like 6-7 different pieces of content from this one music video that you can just keep posting. And that's something like, like music videos are technically dead, right? This is something we're always told, and it's something we know, but we also have seen, like, I mean, for example, Louis. Let's just see, Louis has a lot of success on his music videos, and I think it's just, that's something like, Smooth's always telling me, like, well, look, it's just because of this. And, look at what he does. And it shows that they're technically not still dead. You just got to provide something for the people to stay entertained for that long. You know what I'm saying? So I think as far as like music videos, I think they are dead in the sense using that as your only form of promotion after your single. Yeah, that's dead. But as far as like, it wouldn't hurt to have that for, for many other reasons. You can use that for content, do it for whatever you wish with it. But I think there's really no harm in having it, because at the end of the day, there's more content for you. And, definitely like take advantage. If you're going to be shooting with the videographer or whatever, you're already paying him, like, be like, yo, you think you just shoot like a few little pieces of content, me just talking, hey, the single comes out this day. Yeah. There you go. Another piece of content. You just got to figure out how to do it. And it's something I'm still learning as I go. Like, I'm telling you this stuff because it's something I learned from Smooth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it's just definitely like everyone's blueprint is different. You just got to figure out what works for you and what's your cadence as far as like your workflow.
Like say with music videos, now you have TikTok and you have YouTube. You can have a 5 minutes of a music video. You can use it and for your whatever content you want. Some people do reviews of a music, an artist, and then they use clips of a video.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
And then, for example, if that guy has or the girl has a good following, they voila like that.
Yeah.
That's how you get to know.
Exactly.
That's how you get known.
And then you have more to work with, as far as like, for example, people go look you up on YouTube. There you go. Bam. Now you got music videos. They're like, oh, cool. Like, I didn't know you had music videos. I thought, versus them just going on YouTube and they just find like the audios of your songs, it's like they don't have a visual of what is the story you're telling. So I still think it's okay to have music videos nowadays. I mean, I'm still doing it, so I wouldn't see why not.
Keep doing it. Yeah. For a while, I didn't get into music videos, but I started seeing more of them. Probably as I started doing the podcast. Mm-hmm. But also, just because I want to see how, like I got into like say how I know sometimes they're doing like lip syncing, but how finding that they're hitting that that opening in their mouth in that tone like right there, like it's weird because you're starting to also understand a lot more things behind the scenes, and definitely. You use that like say color, like I was talking to Carlos earlier, like how music videos now help crew La Regional Mexicano, where it's at right now. And a lot of it is because of all of the behind the scenes work of, yes, the sound guy is important. The lighting is important, but also the photographer is part of that now. Yeah. The videographer is part of it now because you use that in socials. Y ahorita look at, what's going on with Grupo Frontera and Peso Pluma.
Yeah.
I mean, and then how is that helping you guys as well, especially as independent artists that, they're trying to get yourselves out there?
I mean, definitely. I think it's like, it's one of those things too, because it's like, I mean, now I feel like the music videos, they be getting like super creative. Like they almost be like movies. Like I was like,
yes.
Because it's funny because the other day, my cousin at his little food truck, he has a TV he be playing. He just puts music videos, right? And one time I was just like watching, I was like, bro, did you put on a movie? He's like, no. He's like, I put on music videos. It's like, this thing's been going on for like good 2 minutes. It's like a whole movie. And it ended up being it was like a Bad Bunny music video. And I was like, damn, like this shit looks crazy. I haven't really like sat and watched any music videos recently, but it was just like showing you like how much effort you almost got to put in now to keep people entertained with the music videos. And I think they're showing y'all that, like, with all, like, even best with Blue Eyes, like, his introduction to his show even. Like, I went to the one at, he recently had at,
ACL Live?
Yeah. And, like, he had a whole, like, video for his introduction was, like, a movie trailer almost. And it was just cool because it was just, like, it was just, I don't know, it was just super cool to see that and like the effort they're putting into the visuals. And, you know, you can tell that they're really trying to keep people's attention, you know, focused on them. And that's the thing now. Everyone's attention span is so short. So if you don't have them, the first like 5 seconds of the video, like they're done for. Yeah. So that's why they have to, like, you can tell they're putting in the effort within the first like 10 seconds of the music video. They're trying to make like, oh shit, like what's about to go down, you know?
And it can be like simple, like it doesn't have to be like a highly high budget production of lasers and that. It can just be, I don't know what, like I was looking at the one with Gabito Ballesteros and Becky G.
Oh yeah.
It's in a strip club, but like how it's a drone coming through and then it hits there and like, a la verga.
Yeah, they be getting like super creative with them though, and it's dope. Like even the aesthetics, like I really like the music video with Becky G. Forgot the name of the song. It's a super popular one that's been, damn, I cannot remember the name of it, but the music video was so pretty to me. Like the aesthetic, it was just very like you can tell it was just, it was like inspired by like the old school, like, you know, music videos that they used to have with that type of music. So I think it's just dope seeing how people are almost forced to be creative now with their music videos, and you can tell they're trying harder than they used to.
They're adding more of a either disco or, like you said, 80s or like old school film.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to branch out from the norm, because I think like their focus with high effects for a long time. I think they were trying to do too much with effects, and people got, all right, like this is too much. Like you're just switching from scene to scene with, you know. And I think now we kind of crave like, all right, we need something to hold on to this video. And yeah,
like when you're rapping, actually stay rapping, not cut it after. That's cool. One question that I asked is like, what are two questions before we close? What are some challenges you have faced in the industry? And then the next one would just be about mental health. But let's do the challenges part first.
I think with the challenges more so, I think it's just, it was more in the beginning. I don't feel like I face these challenges much anymore, but I feel like it was really hard for men to take me seriously. I feel like a lot of guys just kind of were like quick to brush me off, especially I'm a masculine presenting female, you know, so off the bat, they're like, all right, this girl is like trying to be like, you know, dresses like a dude or whatever. So you can tell a shift in like a sense of respect that they don't really take me serious because of my appearance, right? Or, you know, but it got to a point, you know, I think my music says more than my words ever could. And I feel like people weren't necessarily giving me a chance based off of how I looked. And now it's like at shows, I feel like you can see the shift at some point. So I would walk in, I get on stage, and I can see the dudes kind of like, all right, what is this gay girl about to do up here? And then by the end, I have them cheering, you know, and then they come up to me like, hey, can we get a picture with you? And I think that's kind of like really what I would face. And it was kind of frustrating because I was like, I don't understand based off of like how I look, how that can change how people, you know, how like on the level of how serious am I going to take you? And, you know, I kind of felt it, you know, people would like be more dismissive, or they weren't very like care to have a conversation with me and shit like that. And now it's different, you know, I can definitely feel the sense of change. But nah, like it was definitely frustrating, and I think it was just something I always experienced. I've received more hate from men than I ever have from women, and it was just something I never understood. But as far as that, like that's really the only challenge that I seem to face. Is just I don't know, dudes are just not always very nice to me.
Some of us have issues, but some of us know how to work them, and some just don't.
Fair enough.
So, as a guy, I can tell you that.
It's okay. I don't take it personal.
Insecurities.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny though. I never really paid too much attention to it, but you know, in the beginning, it was definitely a challenge.
Well, I'm glad. Like, and also like you're managed by a guy.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he gives you a lot of input too. And
no, definitely. He's very big on like, don't listen to them. They're just insecure, or like, their ego's bruised or stuff like that. And, you know, he's always right. So he's not always right for the most part.
Don't give him the benefit of the doubt.
He's going to let that one get to his head.
And the last one is a pretty important one because I was like touching a little bit of mental health. Doing all this amazing work you've done. You're doing, music videos, your music flowing, shows, traveling, last minute calls from, hey, you got to be here from Smooth. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do to take care of your mental health? And also like say, what is something as a creative you do to, to like, okay, at the end of the day, I have to stay grounded.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, so it's funny because I think when me and Smooth early on started working, things kind of happened very fast, right? And, it was a shift. I moved cities when I had lived in the same city my whole life, and everything just kind of changed very quickly. And I think that was the quickest amount of change I faced, in my life. And it was an adjustment. And I think I was adjusting the whole time that I never really stopped and think, well, like, how is this adjustment making me feel? And, I was fulfilled in the sense everything I've ever wanted in my career is finally happening. But in my personal life, it wasn't how I imagined it would feel. And I think that's when, but I didn't see it then, this is just me reflecting because, it was crazy because everything was up here with my career, but me mentally was like kind of going down. Yeah. And it took me completely falling apart for me to kind of step back and really like be like, okay, I don't ever want to feel like this again. And, that's just me being truly transparent. Like, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and I did have to take a step back and kind of like, all right, what do I need to do in order for if my career takes off like this again, I don't fumble the ball and because I wasn't mentally prepared, because people don't realize like your career peak involves a lot of selfish decisions. Yeah. You're having to constantly choose your career over everything else around you, and that affects things, but I'm grateful for that because it taught me now I know what to do. Now I know, okay, I'm burnt out. I need a day to chill. And I'll tell Smooth like, yo, I'm not doing anything today. I'm going to just stay home and just lay down and not do shit. Yeah. And that's now something I put my foot down and I'm like, nah, I need to prioritize. Like, I need to listen to my body. My body's telling me I can't keep going. And, there's moments, too, where you do have to cater to your personal life. You have to make time for the people around you, too. You can't just be work, because the more you just put work in front of you, there's going to be a time in your life where you're going to be like, fuck, there's no one around me no more. Yeah. It was just all work. And that's something I never want to happen. I try make time for family, try to, go chill with your parents or, plan dates with my girl. Like, there's just little things that work needs to be put in on that aspect, too. And I even like go to therapy, I try when I feel like, I used to go more frequent, but sometimes we get busy. So now it's just like kind of here and there when I feel like, all right, like I really do need to just kind of catch up with my therapist and kind of let her know everything that's going on. And I'm just at a point now where I'm more self-aware and I can actually be like, all right, this is what I need. And I think I needed to go through that little, whatever that was to be able to manage, my career better now. Cause I was 23 when everything started happening. I'm 27 now. So it's just different mentalities then and then. And so, yeah, I think I had to go through that to know, all right, I think I'm actually mentally ready now for it.
Hey, les va, cuidado. And then I think one thing is just like, say, for example, you've now done collaborations with people that you probably saw on TV or in a video in the past. How's that for you?
Man, it's surreal still. I think it's such a weird concept for me because I feel like even now, like if I say it out loud, it's still kind of weird to say. Like, and I think the one that I still have a hard time wrapping my head around is the Bone Thugs one, just because like that was like my cousin's like favorite all time band or rap group, and I think that one was just like, when I listen to it, like I always get kind of emotional. Yeah. And it's things just because like I just know he would have like loved hearing that, and I don't know, it's just it's crazy. Like I don't know. Even when I listen to him, like this is so weird. Like
was I just there? Like, did that
yeah, it's
happen?
just, it's so weird to me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I have my man, like Smooth always says like, yo, like I never get a reaction out of you. He's like, you're always just so calm. He's like, even when I meet people, like I don't get starstruck. Like, trust me, deep down I'm like freaking out. But like, like when I'm with them physically, like I'm just chill. Like, you know, I'm shake their hand. But he's like, did you feel anything? Like, how do you feel? He would always be like, how are you feeling? Like, tell me. I'm like, I mean, I feel all right. Like, I feel good. Like, I feel great. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's just going to be a day where it's just all going to hit me. And I'm like, holy fuck. But I don't think I had that moment yet.
Imagínate que next year, the next one will be Con Esa Snow.
Damn, bro. Hey,
I'll carry your luggage. I'll be like, I'm her assistant, whatever she needs. I got her.
Hey, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Va, ya está. Y ojalá, you know, hopefully by then I'll have my green card, so we just do Mexico.
Vamos.
Le caemos al DF. I know some people.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's cool. But XB, Bianca, thank you for,
of course,
for doing this recording with me, man. It's like this is one of those, like, I always look for other recordings, like look forward to other recordings that I do, and I really mean it. Like, it's not just like thin air, me just bullshitting, but no, I really, when I invite someone, it's because I really want to hear about it, and also for the audience to listen to, like, where you know, like more about you know, your personal level, because I feel like sometimes someone can take something from an episode or that's something positive, and it can help them encourage to do something.
Yep, definitely.
And I hope with this episode someone can hear that and like, wait, se sienten con madre, or, you know, encouraged to do something, or, you know, if they want to come out, they come out, whatever. But how can, like, people reach out to you, like, if they want to hit you up for bookings, or, you know, just like say to follow you?
Yeah, so you can actually find me on all social media. It's all the same. It's XB as in bird, Valentine, all together. All my ads are the same. So like Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, literally everything is the same. So it's easy to find me. And yeah, what was the other question?
If someone wants to book you.
Oh yeah, and the booking. So you can actually, any kind of inquiries you want to do, features, whatever it may be, you can go at info@premierlivemgmt.com. You know, it's info, info at premier, oh God, PREMIER, premier.
Premier. Let me look into that.
It's just like Premiere.
We'll put it on the list.
We'll put it somewhere right here. But PremierLiveMGMT.com. There you go.
And so, no, XB, thank you for coming.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure.
We did this.
I had a good time.
Heck yeah. Next time we'll do some mezcalitos. Yeah. After, you know, we'll talk about music and, you know, talk more about, like, just shoot the shit.
Yeah, I'll be down. Let's do it.
Órale. Bueno, raza, se cuidan, se portan bien, y arriba la América.
Vamos.
You know, la América is the best team in the world.
I can't say that. My dad would be so mad.